let go of whatever was and walk into what is.
I feel those chains are breaking, yeah. I fear God, I don't fear death. I see those stripes and take a step.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Backlot Banter movie review. My name is Tucker Hazel, and I'm joined by two co-hosts who I want to beat to a bloody pulp, Tanner Dykstra and Abram Beater. And today we're here to talk about the culmination to this point of the Rocky and Creed franchise, Creed 3. We've got our boys, Diamond Damian, not Wayne, Anderson, and of course, Creed, Adonis Hollywood Creed, fighting in the ring, and we're here to talk about their film. But if you want to talk to us about, frankly, any of the Rocky movies, because Tanner and I just watched all of those, or any of the Creed movies, you can join our Discord. That link is in the top description. And while you're down there, subscribe to our channel, because we're doing a lot of these movie reviews. Mostly, God forbid, thank you, without Abram Buhner. But this time, he's on it. We'll have to put up with that. Here's our Creed view. Very excited. Abram, I'd like you to start, because I haven't talked to you about the Rocky or Creed franchise,
right?
But you have seen all three of the Creed movies within the last week or so. What are your thoughts on Creed 3?
Yeah, so I like Rocky a lot. I think Rocky's a really good movie, but I didn't have the gumption that you boys did to see all of them. But if there's one thing I love, it's Jonathan Majors. And so I said to myself, I need to go back and watch Creed 1 and Creed 2 so I can properly appreciate what Jonathan is going to bring to this franchise. And in doing so, I found some of my favorite blockbusters of the past decade.
Mm-hmm.
I think Creed 1 is excellent. I think that Creed 2 is pretty good to great. And I think that Creed 3 is an exceptional accomplishment. First off, it's incredible that this is Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut.
Yeah, insane. We're going to talk about that.
Yes, absolutely. And the ways that he guides his own character in front of and behind the camera to an incredibly satisfying and character-driven finale to this trilogy is really exceptional. I think the film smartly recognizes that we can't just do another movie that is solely about Creed fighting a guy.
Yeah.
What I love about Creed 3 is that it complicates the narrative situation and the character relationships to where this is a movie about boxing, but it's a movie about boxing as a conduit for characters in a way that I just don't think that Creed or Creed 2 necessarily were, partially because Rocky was in the shadow of, or Creed was in the shadow of Rocky and Rocky's relationships. It's just obviously not the case here. I do think that Creed 1 is maybe a stronger film overall, but I absolutely loved where Creed 3 takes us, the characters we meet, the character relationships as they're developed, and the general hype moments that I come to expect of these films. So very, very impressed by Creed 3.
Tanner, how much of that you want to echo? All of
it? Yeah, basically all of it. I do want to obviously applaud Michael B. Jordan in his directorial debut, but Jonathan Majors, I think, steals the show here. He is so incredibly good. Best antagonist of the Rocky or Creed film, and exactly for the reason that Abram was mentioning, because it is so complicated, his relationship to Creed. He is not a mustache-twirling villain who is here just to take the title from our hero character. He wants that, sure, but he wants more, I think. And why he wants that is the real reasoning here.
Yeah.
And how Creed both parallels and differs from that view of what he wants. And how they clash over that is what this film is really about, and it conveys that in good dramatic moments, but in fantastic fights.
Yep, 100%. I was really blown away by this movie. We watched Creed and Creed 2 back-to-back, both of my first times watching it, about last week, and I love Creed 1. I think that as a continuation of the Rocky saga, complicating Rocky's character by giving him a much stronger protege to train, that is a fantastic movie. Creed 2, on the other hand, I found pretty disappointing. I think it's a good movie. I think it's fine, but it doesn't reach the highs of what I love so much out of those other Rocky movies, except for the parts with the Drago family in it. Yeah. They were really good in that. But Creed 3, I think, really does succeed in what it set out to do, which is differentiate the Creed franchise from the Rocky franchise. Step out of Rocky's shadow, develop Creed characters that are not dependent on the legacy of the characters in the 6 other Rocky films that are from 20 years ago, giving us Dame to be the straight up antagonist, or not straight up antagonist, but iconic antagonist for Adonis Creed. God, all these names flying into my head. I'm gonna slip out Rocky a couple times in this review. That I think really solidifies this as easily my favorite of this trilogy, and I think that the ways that it adds so much richness to Adonis as a character, I think can't be understated. I think Michael B. Jordan, in his personal stakes of this being his franchise now, Sly produced it. To what degree, can't really tell, but
there's drama there.
Yeah. But it really does feel personal, of giving him this family to care for, and these emotional moments, and he's spoilers, crying over the death of his mother, and we're seeing these thoughts and emotions go through his head about his childhood and the abusive childhood that he had, and hiding these secrets. It's such a complication of him as a character, and makes him a distinct film character of a boxer that comes from this troubled past, but a more troubled past than we even knew before. And I really love how it gives so much texture to Adonis as a character, and puts him up there with me finally for against Rocky. I think I like those two characters equally as much, but it took Creed 3 for me to really fully understand this character and gravitate towards him, as opposed to the guy that's Rocky's training, which he kind of was for those first two films.
Yeah, and I think it is really because that Michael B. Jordan is developing this character as he goes along. He has creative control here as the director of this film, and as you said, Tucker, we are making it about Adonis Creed.
Yep.
And I think that really, in retrospect, looking back at Creed 1 and 2, you are right, he is in Rocky's shadow a little bit. He's not as distinct of a character as he is here, which is unfortunate because Rocky is so distinct from the very first moment in that original film.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Michael B. Jordan first. I know we all want to talk about Jonathan Majors, but let's get to him first. Let's talk about Michael B. Jordan, Adonis Creed, and where we take his character in this. He is retired. In this film, we have one fight with Pretty Ricky Conlon, a rematch at the beginning of the film.
They brought back the worst Rocky villain to then set up, in contrast, the best Rocky villain.
I agree. And so Adonis is retired. Bianca is making music. They have their daughter is in kindergarten. Amara. She's in school. She's like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years old. And that family dynamic is very strong in this. I really love it. I think that all this stuff is great, and how Adonis is still holding back things about his past from Bianca, even after all these years, really adds to the familial stakes in this film. When they're, I guess we're just doing full spoilers, so that's fine, whatever. When they are talking about, like, Jonathan Majors sees these seeds or sows these seeds of chaos a little bit, talking about ask him about Leon and stuff like that. And when Michael B. Jordan finally does talk about that with Bianca, it's heartbreaking to see him really open up about this abuse that he faced as a child, and how that builds out his character as why he fights. He feels he needs to prove something a little bit, maybe, or he was mentally scarred from the very beginning of his upbringing, being alone, only having Dame as his friend, and being abused at this group home that they were at. It's powerful stuff, and Michael B. Jordan delivers that as an actor and as a director.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the film does an excellent job in giving Adonis the space to not only, as we do in Creed 1, reconcile his name, but then as we get to Creed 3, reconcile his past. And as he's sort of talking with Rocky about in those first two films, determining what he's fighting for. And I think it's quite remarkable the ways that the film asks Adonis to be confused for a long portion of the runtime. I love the shot when he's driving and he sees himself on the Ralph Lauren billboard, and you just see on his face this sort of what the fuck am I doing in this moment? As you say, Tanner, you've got Dame sort of displacing his understanding of himself and his social relationships, and I think Michael B. Jordan does an incredible job of conveying subtly the sense that Adonis is off his axis for so many different professional and personal reasons. At the same time, as you're saying, I think the family dynamic is what strengthens this arc and this journey he goes on, especially in the case of Amara getting into that fight at school. And then we have the altercation between Bianca and Adonis as she's saying, Adonis, you can't hit everything in the face to solve every
Especially
problem.
not a 10-year-old deaf child. Don't do that.
Yeah, probably
Right.
not.
Don't do that,
Yeah.
Donnie. Don't do it. You know he's
Yeah.
thinking about it.
I think the film does a great job in this case of, by making him retired, taking him out of his main conduit for expressing himself, which is
Mhm.
combat sport for so long of it. So we see, like when they're at the deaf school talking to the teacher, that he doesn't understand really how to resolve these situations in any other way than with his hands. And I think that forcing him to reconcile with Dame and reconcile with Bianca and his mother and his career and his legacy and his sense of self and his direction in just under 2 hours is incredibly masterful character work.
Absolutely. And I think that comes alongside the personalness that we're talking about with surprisingly amazing direction in this film. I will be 100% honest. I finished Creed 2 and I'm like, that wasn't as well directed as Creed 1. I looked at the name of the director. I'd never heard of the guy. He like maybe had done like one other mediocre thing I'd seen before. And then I was like, Michael B. Jordan is a very good actor, but I don't know if he's got the chops to be a director because we had never seen him direct anything before. But he comes out of the gate swinging, literally, with one of the most visually interesting boxing fights at the beginning with Pretty Ricky Conlon, who I don't like as a character, but giving Creed the opportunity to use his Mortal Kombat VATS fucking focusing in on body parts and hitting them in like extreme close-ups and extreme slow-mos that is just beautifully shot, and the crispness and the high frame rate of the slow-mo really makes that pop. I've seen almost 10 of these movies, or no, no, I guess it's the ninth. 9 of these movies, almost 10 of these movies in the last month. But that visual flair felt like, whoa, someone is doing something unique with these fights that I've watched a ton of recently, and I really love that, stepping out of what the Creed and Rocky franchise has done before, which is trying to replicate that experience of either being in the ring and watching them, or watching it on television. And there was one of those fights in one of the other movies that was like specifically shot to be like
Rocky Balboa is like, it is framed as you are watching this fight on television, which is really interesting.
But what Michael B. Jordan does is make it more of an experiential thing. Use the filmmaking and CGI and slow-mo to make it more visually engaging, especially as we get to that last fight, which is easily up there as one of the great final Rocky fights, because it's using film in a different way. We are transported to a ring where no one else is around, and they go 9 or 10 rounds in this ring, in this like 5-minute sequence where it's all black around them, and he's getting punched into jail bars, and then he's punching Dame into the like mattress wrapped around the pole that was like representative of the abuse that they had when they were children. Like, this is visually striking, and it adds so much character work and visual distinctness to these fights that could have easily been stale fights. They could have been, yeah, I've seen these before. I like Dame, I like Creed, but filmmaking wise, this is about the same. But no, they completely leave that behind, and I think it's really impressive that Michael B. Jordan, like out of the gate, is just like visually interesting ideas, bringing something new to this long-running franchise and putting his own mark on it. Fantastic stuff.
It is great. I was mouth agape on the edge of my seat.
I saw him. He was right there.
When we cut out to that wide and the audience is gone and there's like a fog hanging over all the seats, and we are, as Tucker said, he gets punched and it like materializes like a cage match essentially. I was blown away by what I was seeing. It was like, because we absolutely don't expect something like that from a Rocky or a Creed film, and I gotta shout it out. Michael B. Jordan said these fights would be anime inspired, and we didn't really know what he meant by that.
But he was right.
That's like an anime thing, is when our characters are in a fight sequence, we sort of like go into this metaphorical sort of dream space where they're fighting takes on new meaning, new visual meaning, new material meaning, and I love that. I also want to say the thing where he is focusing in on the body parts, the VATS as Tucker called it, ties again directly back to what Adonis is saying in the script of the film. boxing is not about just brutal violence, especially as Dame seems to think that fighting is.
Yeah.
It is about control. It is about focus. This is what he's saying to his daughter when he's teaching her how to fight. And we visualize that through the fights of this film. He is focusing in on the weaknesses that his opponent has. The opening, which is that fight with Pretty Ricky Conlon. He sees that opening. He sees it a second time, and he goes for it the third time. It is control. It is focus, and that's. I mean, Creed really needs to take his own advice when it comes to, handling things outside of the ring when it comes to that. It's not about settling things with violence. It's about approaching it with focus and control and, focus and control. He says a third thing. I don't remember what the third word is, but I think that's important.
Timing.
Timing, thank you. That we connect those things, because that's what the Rocky and Creed films are all about, is connecting these themes from inside the ring to outside the ring.
Yeah, and you guys obviously have seen more of these films than I have, so you've got the higher risk of fatigue than me. But even where I'm sitting, I viewed the end fight in Creed 1. I'm like, oh, okay, so we're doing Rocky again, in that we're gonna show all the rounds, and we're gonna slowly beat each other further and further into the ground, and at the last minute we're gonna land that killer shot. And as is the case in Creed 2 and Creed 1, obviously the fight just ends after 12 rounds. Akin to Rocky again, but I sort of understood a formula, even though this is only my fourth film in the franchise. But I love how each of the three fights, just in the case of this, all have a very different tenor to them. As you guys are saying, I love the speed of fighting Pretty Ricky Conlon.
Yeah.
Watching him slip all of the punches and lightning fast get a combination.
The camera's really close to that.
Yeah.
Impressive stuff.
It's really excellent. And then, as you're saying, I think the psychological tenor of that final fight is really exciting, especially in that when we return to a more archetypal final round.
Yeah,
we are in the final round, and I think the ways that quasi dream sequence, if you want to call it that, plays with our understanding of time in the fight also is so effective.
Yeah.
But if I can transition into Jonathan Majors a little bit, I want to touch on that second major fight of the film, in which Jonathan Majors just brutalizes the other man in the ring.
He fights dirty, which is something we'd never seen in the franchise.
That's what, again, makes it such a cool thing that immediately sets him apart from every other Rocky villain. He is fighting dirty. He is slipping little shots at the shoulder, nicking the guy with his elbow and stuff like that. I love it.
Yeah, all of those tenets, as you guys are saying, of the stylistic moves to make Impact feel heavy are there, but there's also just this mounting sense of dread as we're hearing the commentators, and we're cutting over to Adonis, and we're cutting to Duke, and we're cutting to everybody, and then we take Amara away as we just see this unorthodox, just titan of a man.
Yes.
Just take these big, like, punch out swings that connect and just ragdoll
this man is
the opponent.
Charging his side smash.
Yeah. and it really on a gut level feels uncomfortable as it goes on, and the damage accrues, and it does such an excellent job of having this heel turn for Jonathan Majors be portrayed through action, because obviously I had seen a trailer for Creed 3.
Yep.
I knew the premise of Creed 3, but I think that on a narrative level, there's this excellent turn in that fight, which complicates our understanding of what Dame is doing and what his return means to Adonis. Because this sort of tenuous friendship, sense of obligation, sense of guilt that the two wrestle with when they reconnect, and as we work our way to that title shot, is quite compelling. But then this sinking sense of harrowing violence as we realize, Dame is the antagonist, and he's not fighting fair, and this is a real danger to the people around him. I think that's incredibly well executed in the script.
He's not fighting fair, but at the same time, you can contextualize it with the background that he and Creed have. What happened to Dame wasn't fair. He was protecting his friend. Adonis ran off. He feels guilt for abandoning him in that moment, and he feels that guilt nearly 20 years later. And that's why he's doing all these things for Dame. That's why thinks he's done a great thing in like sort of setting up this underdog fight for the heavyweight championship title and all of these things. I love their relationship in this film, and how you're right, Abram. We saw trailers for this film. We know what was going in, but if you try to sort of divorce that from your viewing of the narrative of the film, there is that sudden turn when Dame starts fighting dirty. And it's horrifying what he's doing. Honestly, you know, he's hitting him in the shoulder. He's cutting him with his elbow and stuff like that. And you also, but even before that, we're planting the seeds of like, I really glommed onto the moment when they're at this like launch party, this sort of like dual thing for the fight and for Bianca's music, when Jonathan Majors asks Tessa Thompson, doesn't it bother you that someone else is singing your songs? And that is exactly what Dame feels about Adonis. Adonis got that chance. He is singing the song that belonged to Dame. He is living the life that Dame feels belonged to him. He was the best. He got unfairly treated. He got locked up for nearly 20 years. And now he's back to take what is owed to him. And even though Adonis tries to give him those things, he always knows what he's gunning for. He always has that chip on his shoulder, which I think is a really present element of Jonathan Majors' acting.
Yeah.
What I love about Jonathan Majors as an actor, and I think you're right, Tanner, he brings such a needed dimension to the character, because I guess first on a character level before the performance level, I'm reminded in some shades, just because it's a similar actor, so it's on my mind, the character of Killmonger in Black Panther, in that they're such sympathetic antagonists, and they're so intertwined with the protagonist that the emotional complication there makes his turn so much harder and so much more complicated, especially then when you reach that confrontation on the beach. And it becomes obvious that a line has been, well, they're on the beach, so drawn in the sand. And you understand where the relationship stands. I think that's all great. But on a performance level, Jonathan Majors is just such an amazing fucking actor.
Yeah, dude.
What a surprise,
Yeah. You listen to him in interviews, and he's so soft-spoken.
Yeah.
And it's amazing seeing the range he brings. And you watch this film, he's so suave and gentlemanly when he comes over for dinner, and there's such a warmth when he meets Amara and is learning the sign language or trying to do it so he can talk to her. It's
so funny. That was so funny.
it's such a great, and it's like an earnest and humorous moment, and he sells those so well. But then the ways he can screw up his face for those hyper closes when you're in the ring between rounds, and he's just bringing all his facial features to the center. He is so imposing. Yeah. The ways he can flip that switch, in addition to him just being a titan of a man. Yeah. Never seen a man in the physical form.
Massive look
Majors.
at this guy.
Yes.
I was sorely disappointed that we took away some of the best shots of the trailer, which are him working out at Muscle Beach in LA, because I wanted to see more of that. And when he is working on this is a small thing that builds out his presence, his violent presence in the ring. When he's working out, he's always like releasing these little grunts when he's doing hits or doing reps or whatever. Like it gives a little.
He's an anime character.
Just a little bit of extra weight to everything that he does. And Abram, you absolutely I love what he does with his face when he's in the ring or when he's like taunting Creed and stuff like that. I also love the moment when we're on Stephen A. Smith's first take and he calls in. He's like, oh, we're getting a call, and he calls in just to taunt him a little bit more, because that's who he is. He's like, you took this from me, now I'm gonna screw with you for all the 18 years that you took away from me.
Just as a quick sidebar, there's a bunch of fairly annoying but teenage boys sitting a row in front of me.
Oh, we had some of those too. Yeah.
And when Stephen A. Smith came on screen, they were, they had their moment, and I let them have it.
Yeah, actually, we were excited to see Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, I want to bring it back to Michael B. Jordan as well, and I think kind of ending this with why this movie worked so well for me, bringing Creed to the forefront. Adonis Creed as a character and what making me care about him so much more is, like you said with Jonathan Majors, I think Michael B. Jordan in this movie is getting given so much more range of personality to work with. He is not the relatively simple and hyper focused guy that he was in those first two movies, there's so much more complexity and confusion, and we learn so much more about his history. And watching him swing from very depressing sequences of him not sure what to do with himself, or his past has been reframed, where he's sharing a secret that he's harbored for such a long time, to the extreme confidence that he gains at the ending moment, that is, he needs to take this guy down because everything he's worked for all these years, working himself up, would have been for nothing if this guy takes it away. But I think also the softer side of him that we've seen glimpses of in the past, when he's like goofing around flirting with Bianca, but when he's with Amara, that is a side of Michael B. Jordan I have never seen in a film. And I think that it really shows his range as an actor, that he's able to sell dressing up as a goofy dinosaur and pouring tea for his daughter.
God,
I love that
so
scene.
What a phenomenal sequence that gives us an introduction to his daughter, because that's really the first time that we've seen her in this franchise, in a significant degree, but also the softness that he has for Amara, because part of the reason that Tanner and I were a little bit iffy on Creed 2 is that his conflict of worrying about if his daughter is going to be deaf or not felt a little weird for that character. He wasn't like fully supportive, but by this time gap, he's been retired. He spent years learning sign language, and the deaf representation here and the use of sign language and the character growth that Donnie has gone through to learn signing and being able to communicate with his daughter is just phenomenal. It adds so much richness to his character. He feels like such a caring father. He's sneaking Amara out to like teach her what different punches are. There's that phenomenal scene where she's like, "No, I've seen all your fights." And he's like, "Oh, really?
Hey, show me something I haven't seen." Exactly.
There's such an extra layer to his character now that we have this full family unit to work with, and I absolutely love that.
Yeah, and I love how the film ends with them with the family in the ring together.
So good.
And this sort of visual metaphor for sort of the way in which Adonis learns to harmonize his priorities in life and bring his family into the ring and have this genuine moment after he's just had a great moment of just performance with Jonathan Majors in the locker room.
Yeah.
As they reflect and reconcile.
We've never gotten a Rocky talking, or Rocky or Creed for that matter, talking to the villain of the film afterwards. It's always, we knocked him out in the ring, bada bing, bada bing. Well, with Apollo,
there's an Apollo moment.
But I think Apollo's separate as like a Rocky antagonist.
Sure.
Yeah. But we've never gotten that, where they reconcile. They reconcile like they grew up together. Why are they fighting? Why do they feel they need to fight? All of these things. And this sort of goes back to something that's outside of the scope of this film specifically, but is something I saw a large publication write a piece about recently, where they interviewed Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors, where they called them, and I agree, two generational talents. I think we have here in these two gentlemen.
Yes. 100%.
I mean, I think this article called them the new De Niro and Pacino, and I don't think that's far off. I just love these two guys, and we talk about how they have these soft-spoken moments, and I just think back to some of their big initial works, like Fruitvale Station for Michael B. Jordan, and where I first saw Jonathan Majors, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Very pared down, very soft-spoken roles for these two gentlemen, and then how they can flip it and be larger-than-life figures and also bring back that softness, all in the 2-hour runtime of Creed 3. And fantastic stuff. Love this movie. Best Creed movie, and I'd say, if we want to get into scores here, second best Rocky universe film.
Yeah. If I can just add one, because there's one other point I just want to touch on briefly.
Go for it.
I love the notions of masculinity in this film. I think, as you're saying, the sensitivity that they bring emotionally, and I think this also extends to these men beyond the screen. They're just incredibly thoughtful people, and that's part of why I love seeing them in film so much. But again, I just want to talk about some hype shit again from just a moment.
Yeah, go for it.
Because, brother, that training montage is so really fucking good. Not
he's dragging the plane. Come on, man.
He's dragging the plane where I think the editing in this film, as we talked about in
So
the fight
good.
sequences, are great. But the ways we're cutting between them both running and shadow boxing, is cutting back and forth. But also, it's just awesome that Creed is sparring with Drago.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
That's just
yes.
awesome.
I wanted to say that we are building out our cast of Creed characters here. We have Tessa Thompson, who gets a lot more screen time in this, and who is fantastic in this. I don't think we brought that up specifically, but we get Victor Drago is like now a Creed character, and that's great.
We'll see. We'll see how much he.
And he's getting
I
his
think he was a little
spin-off.
underutilized here, and who
Yeah.
knows if that's even going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, I like that he was included here, and God, you know what? The more I think about this movie, it's like, just great stuff all around.
And Little Duke.
Michael B. Jordan, what a great job. He did a great job with this.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Oh, were you
God.
showing at the little Dirk track? Is that what you're doing?
No,
Kevin?
I was saying Little Duke, his coach.
Little Duke.
He
Sure.
gets more play in this.
I
As
kinda
Tucker's
cared about
mentioned,
Duke for once.
we kind of cared about Little Duke for the first time in these Creed films.
Or sorry, it's Baby Keem who does the walk-in track in the last fight. I gotta check this out, but I love the
Keemstar?
score of this. Not Keemstar. I love the soundtrack to this film too. Really great stuff.
Yeah, I mean that training montage. The last thought I have is this film is really concerned with drawing the parallels of Dame and Adonis. There's a lot of mirror shots in this film that we are very clearly mirroring these two men, cutting between them. We have, in the color scheme of their fighting gear, we have the white hat. Sort of, we're playing into this like Western trope of like the white hat hero, Adonis wearing white shorts, white gloves, and the black hat villain, Dame wearing black shorts, black gloves. Cool stuff, visual language, it's all here. Michael B. Jordan, fantastic directorial debut. I would give this film, out of 10, 8.6. 8.6 out of 10 for Creed 3.
I'm going to go 8.8. Love this movie.
Yeah, I will just give this a flat 9 because I don't. I will just say the one thing
that is an option.
Yeah, the one thing that does hold the film back for me a little bit is I do feel like Bianca is underutilized, and I do wish that the Amara conflict at school. Learning how to fight things.
I can see that.
I think there are a couple more family things that are set up than are paid off. But that's really my only complaint. It's also just because I love Tessa Thompson, and I would have liked to see her career a little bit more than is shown, because there's a lot of instead of told, because there's a lot of telling opposed to showing with her. Yeah. But we're talking about small peanuts in the context of what I think is an exceptional film.
Yeah. Bianca is a better character than Adrian is. Let's say that. Let's go that far.
Yes.
Yes. By far. But yeah, fantastic stuff all around. Abram, thank you for joining us on our Creed 3 review. Audience, thank you for joining us. Let us know your thoughts on this film down below, and we'll be back with all sorts of new discussions on new movies as they release. See you next time.
And I'll be back for Magazine Dreams.